yeah. I don't believe in destiny, I just do what's best for me. Don't listen to my enemies, they're just full of jealousy. Yeah, this legacy, you gon' see what's left of me. You gon' see success in me, you ain't seen the rest of me. I just wanna be the best at what I know, better than the rest, just watch me grow. Put me to the test and watch me go. This is my quest, I'ma make it known. They call me obsessive, oh I know. Call me selective with my notes, call me aggressive with my flow. Call me offensive even though Joe, I ain't gonna lie, life's tough. Try to get by, life's rough. Try to do it right, it's not enough. Even though you try, you still mess up. But I'm still gonna fight for what I love, still gonna die for what I love, still gonna try, I won't give up, still gonna fight until I've won. They say I'm way too obsessed and I've got nothing left, and I'm not quite there yet, but those words they'll regret, cause I've got something left and I'm not giving in. I will not let them win, I won't stop till the end, no. Some injuries, mentally and physically. Studied them religiously so I don't repeat history. And people won't admit to me they don't want a victory. Bad enough to get a C, they'd rather just go leave it be. And oh, this journey I've been on since 13, working hard and learning, never stopping searching. Yeah, it's burning, all this passion hurts me. I took action working, writing down these words. No, I'm not okay, I just wanna be something. I don't wanna be nothing, living all alone. No, I'm not alright, I'm just barely getting by. But I'll tell you I'm just fine, so you leave me alone. They say I'm way too obsessed and I've got nothing left, and I'm not quite there yet, but those words they'll regret, cause I've got something left and I'm not giving in. I will not let them win, I won't stop till the end, no.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm TJ Lombardi. I've got two very special dinosaurs hanging out with me tonight. Stephen Landry and Graham Moon. I am super excited for tonight's episode because it's New Year's and we're kicking it off with these two awesome people. So before we get started, a huge shout out to the Dying Breed community, my Patreon followers, Warrior Bernard, Fighters Maxwell, Foster Q, Soldier Bosla, Wolfie, and of course, Defenders LG, Jodan, and Aoife. Also, a huge shout out and thank you to our Legion family as we stream into both communities and, of course, YouTube. We have Katie from Periapsis Press coming in and saying hello. Hello to you, Katie. Love you very much. Please say hi to David, and I hope your family has a great New Year. Bernard, Warrior Bernard, coming in. Hail, TJ. Hail, Landry. And hail, of course, the Quack Pack. Hell yes. Ryan Maxwell, who is Fighter Maxwell up there, coming in, saying what's up. And, of course, Wolfie. Hail, TJ from Little Panda Aiden. So,
Wolves.
Oh, hell yeah. So, Stephen Landry, Graham Moon, thank you for coming and hanging out tonight. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
It has been a very reflective day, to say the least.
Dude, I saw that on your Facebook post. So, you want to talk about that and start off with that?
Dude, where to begin? Like, I feel like we hit the new year, the beginning of this year, hard. so our dog, we got a German Shepherd, right?
Mhm.
Named Titi, and she is a cancer survivor. And so back in January, we did a 30. It was a month long thing, and the goal was 30 miles in a month, raise money for charity. So we did that. We walked every day, about a mile, maybe 2 miles.
Nice.
Uh,
We were raising money for St. Jude Children's Hospital. So our baby girl who beat cancer was
yeah, helped raise money for kids,
with cancer.
and it was just such a cool way to begin the year.
Yeah.
And then we had Dragon Con a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And that was just insane.
That was your first Dragon Con, wasn't it?
That was our second.
It was our second.
Okay. Nice. So what was so different from the first Dragon Con to this most recent one then?
Well, the year before when we went, we actually only got to go for 2 days.
2 or 3 days.
Yeah, it was like 2 days, and all we basically did was go to the book meetup, and we went to the podium cocktail party, and let's see, that was
we did Medieval Times.
yeah, we did medieval times.
Nice.
That was fun. It was a cool way to actually meet a lot of the community, because it was our first time meeting a lot of people. But this time, it was like we didn't just get to meet the community; we got to be a real part of the community. We did the whole Under the Sea event.
Yeah, Lit RPG Under the Sea,
which was just fantastic and exciting. Like
Yeah.
there was not a single dull moment at this Dragon Con.
Yeah, it was pretty much nonstop, and that's what I loved about it was the community getting together. And I mean, we sat down and hung out for a couple times, and it was just no matter where you turned, there was someone within this Lit RPG community for you to spend time with and hang out with. So.
Mhm.
Yeah.
John A. Douglas coming in saying Happy New Year. And of course, Angel Ramon.
Angel!
Happy New Year, my dude. So Happy New Year to you guys. Dude, that's awesome. And, it's interesting you say that. And it's interesting.
For those that don't know, Angel has been a part of the community for about as long as I have. And he was one of the first authors to really introduce himself to me. And I love his work and his growth and everything he does.
Mhm.
Like his new horror series with the rats.
Yeah.
Just chef's kiss.
You loving it?
Loving
Yeah.
it.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I have not dove into that series yet. I did Angels, the Great Centurion.
Yeah, The Last Centurion. I think we got that
Yeah.
on the shelf over
I
there.
did the first one on audiobook, and that was really fun. I loved it. I thought it was such a great, RTS lit RPG. But yeah, Angels, dude, he's been awesome, man. You, Angel, are awesome because I know you're watching. So he's been a great support as well. I met him through Gildify Con. Got the 2 Gildify Cons back.
That's awesome.
That was another big event we had this year. Was Gildify Con.
Yeah, dude, it's been a crazy year, and it's interesting because one of the things that we're planning to talk about tonight is imposter syndrome, and how many of us deal with that and struggle with that. But with this year, I've also done the same thing of reflecting, and I talked about it yesterday, where it's like, even though there's negative thoughts revolving around where I'm currently at, I keep trying to tell myself, look towards the future and don't disregard the things you already have accomplished this year.
Yeah, I tell Steven all the time, you can't, there is always going to be people posting their success on social media, and you can't internalize that, because if you do that, you're only bringing yourself down and you're not manifesting the achievements you want to create.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it, Grant. I love that. So, Angel, and of course, P.S. TJ the Lions were robbed. Yeah, they were. Yes, they fucking were. Oh, man. We're moving on. We're moving on, Angel. Tonight. So, but you know, it's funny because Steven posted when we were talking about doing this how, you know, we were going to have cigars. So I can't smoke in the apartment. So we have our cigars already like lined up and I'm at least just sucking on mine, enjoying it. But also, you were talking about hats. And I will have you know, good sir, though I only have one here, when I worked, it was a year ago, I was working at the Chewy warehouse, just fulfilling orders. And the very first day of orientation, I wore this hat. The second day, I wore a different hat. And the guy I went into orientation with joked, and he's like, "Oh, hey, your first hat wasn't good enough, huh? You had to do a different one."
Well,
for 2 months, I worked in that warehouse, and I chose a different hat each day just to fuck with them. That's how many hats I actually have.
Awesome.
Okay, I think you win that one. You win that one.
Yeah.
I mean this is just a small portion.
I've got hats all around me, but I don't think I have a different hat for every day of the month.
Very close. It's very close because I've also like crocheted you like beanies and stuff.
Yeah.
And like you could, if you wanted to, wear a different beanie every day of the month. Just beanies.
Nice. Okay, so as you know, I know you've come on, you've watched some of the other interviews that I've done. So, you know, why don't you just give us a brief history of like where'd you grow up and what were some of your big, you know, inspirations as a kid that you really loved and that you sometimes draw back upon when you're coming up with new ideas in writing?
Let's see. I grew up in Tennessee, in and around Nashville. I absolutely love like classic sci-fi. I think when I was growing up, I read pretty much every one of like the pulp kind of classic sci-fi you could imagine. Starship Troopers, Forever War, the Foundation, Stainless Steel Rat, Harry Harrison. I still, every time I go into like, especially like an old bookstore and I see one of those books, I have to adopt it. I have to take it home.
Nice.
Like, I mean, I can remember reading Fahrenheit 451 in school and being like, oh my God, I'm hooked. Robot Dog, Flamethrower, this whole battle of good versus evil with the resistance and everything.
He has 3 copies of Fahrenheit 451.
Nice. That's awesome.
I have I think I also have 3 or 4 copies of Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it wasn't just like sci-fi. Like I was also devouring like Lord of the Rings, Dragons of Pern, which is a sci-fi no matter what anybody says. And then like this was all like right around middle school. So this is when like my brain was just like starting to develop, hanging on to things, starting to become my own person. I was really getting into music. I got into anime. I was a part of the Toonami Club. You know, we had Dragon Ball Z and Gundam Wing back to back. Then staying up until midnight to watch Trigun and Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, those were the good days, man.
Outlaw Star. I think that's where like a lot of my stuff combines sci-fi and fantasy together.
Yes.
So like in my Temple of Storm series, for example, with Robbie Below, you could be running, the characters could be running around a fantasy world and totally the cool nerd. I don't know how cool I was back then, but she says I was the cool kid that didn't know he was cool.
Yes. Okay. Take it from the kid who was bullied all through her childhood. You were the cool kid who didn't know he was cool. Okay.
I was bullied though. I was bullied, and I remember very vividly trying to stand up to bullies and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mama. So my family is actually from Boston, Massachusetts.
Big Mama Bear.
So imagine having Mark Wahlberg as your mom.
Hey, you messing with my kid? You messing with my kid? No, you ain't messing with my kid. I know you ain't messing with my kid. Let's go ahead.
I get the bat.
That's awesome.
I'll run you over. I'll get this. Right? I will run you over.
She has the strong Boston accent.
Oh, I love that, dude. I love these
guys. I'm not making fun of my mom. My mom is awesome.
We love her. She's amazing.
We were actually over there having dinner and everything before.
Nice.
Before this.
So then, you had a lot of nerd stuff. Like you had all these influences. You had the sci-fi. You had the fantasy. At what point did you start like pursuing a writing side of, you know, what we're doing now today?
So here's the fucked up thing. I don't actually know when I started. Like it feels so long ago now. Like it trips me up because I can't really remember a time where I wasn't imagining crazy worlds and just stories. One of the things that always got me through school was actually imagining that I was like Indiana Jones and I was studying to go on an adventure or something like that.
Nice.
Like for me, stories have been not just a coping mechanism, but in a way they have just been life. And I actually sat down in middle school, and that's when I wrote out on like 90 pages of notebook paper. And this is awesome because my mom still has it. And it was this story called Avalon. And it was kind of the prototype for everything that I do now.
Nice.
Because it had like these I was doing like martial arts and stuff. So they had like martial arts and they were in mechs and they were flying through space. And so it was like Dragon Ball Z meets Gundam, just pure out of the head of a middle school kid.
Yeah.
Then I think it was like 2012. There was this website called Wattpad, and I know Wattpad is still around, but it's not really what it was then. It was a very, very new way of sharing stories at that time.
Yeah. And
I networked, and my friends Taryn Mathuro, Penigran Shaw, who many people know is Peter Hacksaw now, and Jason Kucharik. We all got together and we were writing a serialized story on there called Project Aspire. And we wrote that for like 2 or 3 years, just going between us, each one of us taking a character, and every week the audience, the readers, would get a new perspective in the story from our character.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
And then Taryn obviously hooked up with a publisher. He's one of the guys behind Portal Books now, and Portal Books they've got some amazing releases out there.
Nice. I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
Like when I think we were in New York. What?
It was the year we got together. So
2016. No, 2016.
2016. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, we've been. Yeah. So 2016. We were in New York, and we were talking about books, and that was actually I had just self-published my first like sci-fi, and by self-published
he said he's heard of Wattpad, so
yeah. Angel actually has a copy of my first sci-fi. It is not available anymore. I'm working on rewriting it and getting it back, because I mean, I feel like that's something that as an artist, as a writer, you either want to do or you eventually commit to doing, is going back to that first project and remastering it.
Yeah. Dude, I feel the same way with The Dying Breed. Like, I'm at this point where it's like I can't stand book one because I've grown in so much experience and I want to like make it better, but now I'm like, nah, I don't have the time or energy right now. I got too many other cool ideas going on I got to do.
I've been secretly working on rewrites on this story. It was originally called Deep Darkness. Now I'm calling it Seer, Extreme Conditions. And I'm hopefully going to start releasing it next year.
Ooh, okay, because that was one of his questions he asked. He was like, Steven, what are you working on next? So clearly, you heard it here first, you guys, on the Dying Breed podcast, where Steven admitted his secret project to the world.
Yes, that is my super, super secret project.
Nice.
My secret project would be a collaboration with Mr. Barbeler, Mr. Matthew Barbeler himself of Edge Force. And that is a Kaiju Cultivation series.
Nice. That's awesome, man. So our good friend and fellow supporter, Brandon Bernard. Steven's creativity is so beautifully absurd. I just love his surprises in his writing. It's a nostalgic pulp that's so unique and entertaining. I look forward to his monsters, especially the ones that can eat the MC.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you first invited me to this podcast, a part of me was like, okay, wait, is this going to be an intervention between TJ and Tori about me constantly feeding my MCs to giant monsters?
I mean,
and then I said no, and I'm going to start next year by having my characters get eaten by a starship that turns into a mimic.
Okay. All right.
And no one is going to stop me, because I think that's one of the most beautiful things about writing, is that
that was a lot of spec. Sorry.
Dragon's Breath. One of the most beautiful things about writing is how absurd it can be.
Yeah, I found a lot of inspiration from a lot of his work and a lot of other people's work, but especially his work. Like, he has inspired me to do a lot more writing. Like, because of my dyslexia, like, I was always that kid who was like, oh, I have these great ideas for books, for stories. And like, I'd start to write them, and then about 2 or 3 pages in, I'd be like, and no, and just quit. And then when I met him, he really inspired me, and I'm working on a couple of books now. But like, that's the thing. His stories are so influential that, like, I hope that everybody who picks up one of his books is inspired to do whatever they are thinking about doing.
Yep.
To me, that's so important. Like, one of my manifestos, I guess, one of my life mottos or mantras is create, inspire, evolve. Always be creating, always look to inspire others, and always continue and evolve yourself.
Yep. 100%, dude. That's awesome. So Angel came in and said, book ones definitely shape us as writers. I would say so, for sure. It's something that you never get away from it, right? It's like, yeah, that was my first book. That's where it all started, because if you didn't finish that book, you would have never had a second book. And then Paul coming in, dyslexia is a bitch. A cold-hearted, cold-shouldered bitch.
Yeah, dyslexia, dyscalculia, and ADHD, all wrapped into this crazy ball of me.
In fact, when I was getting my first novel edited, I discovered that it's not exactly dyslexia, but a lot of words, the letters in between, were switched around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My fingers cannot type as fast as my brain does, you know? And so there's times where, dude, I do that all the time. All the time. So, okay. So I do my best. I do my best to read people's work before I bring them on, you know, to talk. And I was super excited because I finished Stardivers. We posted the review, and I really want to talk about some of the shit.
But unfortunately, TJ didn't know I'm a harem author.
No, I knew that. You told me. You told me. But the thing is, like, there's things in Stardivers that I really want to talk about, but I don't want to spoil it for people. Like, so y'all got to go get this book, number one. But one of the things that I really liked is you had this, God, how do I say this? There's a part where the main character goes and does something, and another character is doing something of a
they're doing something at the same time, kind of in the background, behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. Like, he's doing stuff covertly. And I thought that was such a creative way, because what I feel like Ready Player One was really a huge inspiration for you with this story.
Actually, I don't think Ready Player One was out when I was writing it.
Wow. So then clearly he stole your idea, because this was awesome with how you had this.
I started writing Stardivers in 2016. That's when I came up with the earliest draft of it. It was actually called Corpse Diver.
Nice.
Because the guild is actually called Corpse Divers in the first book.
Yep.
They later on changed their name to Novum in later books. But yeah, the first book was originally the first draft was titled Corpse Diver. And at the time, there weren't any major players in Lit RPG. So I didn't really shop it around much. But one of my buddies, Connor Kostick, was working on this little startup thing. And, you know, I got with him, and he went through, edited, put it out through Level Up Publishing. And they were really good to me at the start of that.
Nice. Yeah. I loved how you made that into, it was such a creative way of how the story evolved. And the other thing that I really liked was you have this egg in the story. And for me, I was like, this was such a cool thing of, we don't see a lot of sci-fi or science, you know, science-y space lit RPG books that get enough love. You know, there's so many great stories, because I know, like, there's some other authors that are writing the science-based or the space-based lit RPGs. And when I read Stardivers, like, there were so many things going off in my head of, like, you can literally have fantasy elements within space lit RPGs, because it's like, we go to this new planet and there are orcs everywhere. These ugly creatures, blast them. I fucking love it, dude. It was great.
I mean, Gorge is an orc cyborg, so
Yeah. And he is absolutely one of my favorite characters to write about.
He is my favorite character out of the whole series. Like, I love Gorge. He's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's where, like, so was that kind of your intent with Stardivers, was to really bring a lot of these more fantasy elements within a structured sci-fi space build?
Yes and no. On the one hand, it wasn't super intentional. On the other hand, I knew that I wanted ether and mana and like basically magical technology, like stuff that couldn't be explained to exist in that world. So you have I think one of the first weapons that's introduced is the Kai rifle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally a rifle that when it runs out of juice, it starts siphoning your life force. It starts taking away your hit points, your HP.
Yeah. And of course, Brandon's coming in saying Myra is my favorite. Gorge is definitely number 2. So we got some more Gorge fans in the house.
Mira is an absolute treasure.
Mira, my bad. That's right.
Actually, to be honest, I don't know how it's pronounced, Mira or Myra.
Does not really matter at this point.
Myra.
And until Richie Stevens decides how it's pronounced,
right?
I'm down for it either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's actually, it's so cool. She's a character that I introduced in book 2, Contingency. And, you know, racing plays a huge part in the Stardivers universe. We can talk a little bit about that here in a second, but so she was introduced in a huge race that takes place across this dungeon world in book 2. And I loved her character so much. Like, and I'm sure you have felt this, like a character that you're writing that just comes out of nowhere and they just totally captivate you in every way.
Oh yeah, that was Drebin for me in book 3 of The Dying Breed. Like, even my editor, when she replied back to me with the manuscript, was like, this character came to life for you above all your other characters. And I was like, yep. So I get it.
And I actually, I was working on the 3rd book, Cold Zone, and I got a couple of chapters in, and I was like, I need to write about Mira.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he decided right then and there. It was like a light bulb went off, and that's where Mira's song came from, was just being inspired by this character to write her own story in the universe.
Nice.
And Mira's song is actually probably the longest novel I've written. I think it's 147,000 words.
Dang. Yeah, Paul, you need to get on that. You know what?
Yeah.
The best way to summon him is to send him feet pics and be like, hey, nerd, get on here. So he loves those.
No, let's not send him any more feet pics. Hand pictures now.
Yes, hand pictures.
We're going into 2024. We got to switch it up.
I don't care if he's sleeping.
I'm going to send him a link. That's
There
what
you
I'm
go.
going to do.
So did you plan the story out and where you wanted to go with the arc? Or is this something where you literally just take it one chapter at a time and let the inspiration guide you as you go?
I think I have an answer for this.
Okay.
So, like most writers, there are notebooks all around my house where inspiration strikes, and he sits down and for like 3 or 4 hours, he will just write outlines of chapters for every one of his books. So there's like at least 100 notebooks around here. In any given place, there's a notebook in each room.
Yep.
Not to mention, I make notes on my phone as
Yep.
well. Man, the notes thing on the iPhone has been a lifesaver. I will sit and write in that. I will make notes. I will go and I will actually edit like copy and paste and then edit chapters on my phone and then copy and paste them back onto my computer.
Yep. I'm with you right there, man. I've done it. I've done the note thing. I've done the instant message to myself thing. I've got literally 2 notebooks here to my left. Yep. That is a part of the lifestyle when you start getting more and more into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely did have. I had a total of I think 7 books outlined for Corpse Diver, and Mira's song though that was the one that kind of caught me by surprise because she wasn't. That a lot of that book was like me just like throwing in stuff that I read, I wanted to see, and I think that that's another huge part of writing is write what you want.
Yeah, there definitely is that whole dynamic of when people, oh, we should write to market, so that we can get some sales and get some readership. But it's like at the end of the day, if you're not happy with that product and that's not a story that you would want to read yourself, then why are you writing it? Is it truly going to be as genuine as it could be if you wrote the story that you wanted to read?
100%, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's
I think you can see that with like Dungeon Crawler Carl, He Who Fights with Monsters. Like they started out writing; those are the books they wanted to write, that they wanted to see. I mean, Dungeon Crawler Carl is filled with so many crazy out of this world things, but it all comes from a genuine place.
Yeah. Like I find that everything that he puts on page is something that he wants not only for himself to love, but for everybody who picks up that book to love. And you're not going to please everybody, but at the same time, like I feel if you're not loving what you're writing, put it down. Don't continue. Just come back to it if inspiration strikes, but like do what you love.
Yep. 100%. And that's where, talking about DCC real quick, that's why I wanted to write in my review when I finished it. There's so much positive humanity within that book. Mm-hmm. And you guys have read the first one, right?
Yes.
So like when he's on that game show or whatever, and he's about to walk off, and then he comes back and he's like, nah, I'm going to fuck with this guy. And he completely like twists it. I was like, that is such epic writing. It was so fun. And it was just, with all the darkness and craziness, there was so much humanity within that book that I absolutely loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an important thing. I mean, you can have something that is super grimdark, but even in like your series, Call Sign Bloodbath, like the main character, Trevor, is fucking funny. This isn't. I don't think this is too big of a spoiler, but there's a part where in the first book where he ends up hooking up with one of the clients, and Brian literally gives him like one of his stats goes up and it's ass eating.
Yeah, ass chewing level 2.
Ass chewing level 2. Yep. Yes, and I must have laughed so hard at that.
He laughed so hard he gave himself hiccups.
That's awesome. So, did you read the chapter after that? with all the things that he gets briefed on.
Yes.
That was that was when I really questioned the story as the writer. Because I was like, so when I was writing Bloodbath,
Oh, it wasn't done. I just wanted to know if you want more.
Oh.
it was
For now.
it was hard for me as a writer to be in Trevor's head at the very first part. Because I was like, what are the most fucked up, inappropriate things I can think of? And I hated doing that. And then later on, did you ever get to Sasha?
Yes.
That was when my mindset flipped. And I was like, because I didn't plan on Sasha. Like, it naturally happened. And I was like, this is the redemption part. This is where I can actually like get into his head and we can recover. Because man, I was fucking struggling. I was like, oh my God, like, why am I writing this right now?
That's one of the beautiful things about writing is like the characters will guide you like that. Like I was talking about with Mira, like she got her very own book 2.5, which is really it's also a standalone because it takes place on a planet that is kind of cut off from the rest of the quadrants.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, man, I tried my best. And that was the interesting thing too, is when I was reading a lot in my military career, almost everything was military, like special forces operations and them telling the story, military leadership, all that stuff. So when I was writing it, I'm like, yeah, this is nothing. Like, this is just, it is what it is. And then Richie's like, dude, this is so brutal. Well, I guess I really am a pure, grim, dark writer. So, but yeah. Okay. So, dude, Stardivers is awesome. Again, people, you got to go check this book out. It was such a great read. Now, you on your Patreon. So again, if you want, in the video description, there is the Club Kaiju Facebook group. Come in there, be a part of the Duck Power Quad group, whatever we're calling. Like,
be a part of the Duck Apocalypse.
Yes, the Duck Apocalypse group. We've got Steven's Amazon books posted there, the link to that, and then the link to your Patreon so that people can go support you. Dude, I feel like every fucking day I am getting email updates from your Patreon of like more chapters. How much are you writing every day?
Every day, I strive to write. I mean, my goal every day is to write at least 500 words.
Okay.
I obviously write more than 500 words a day. My weekly goal is 10,000 words a week within, like, for myself. But bare minimum 500 words a day, even if it's just like some Mondays, I do a Monster Monday. I'm a part of a group called Horror Writers Inc. And it's a bunch of like just lovely horror related stuff, movies, books, the whole shebang. Yeah. I make a little thing every Monday where I talk about a monster. So every Monday, my Patreons get not just a little bio brief on a monster, but they will get a piece of flash fiction that I wrote, that like a drabble or something, that tells a somewhat cohesive story that could be told over like a campfire or something like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was one of the things, like when I was growing up, like my brother and I, we used to go camping all the time. And I loved that atmosphere of just being able to tell stories over a campfire.
Yeah.
Like it's a strong mood.
Yep.
And then of course Wednesdays are Werewolf Wednesday, because why not?
Hell yeah.
And I think it was like 4 months ago now.
Yeah.
I started writing a little thing that was kind of post the. It takes place after the Stardivers books, but you don't have to read the Stardivers books to get it. And it's a sci-fi story that's now following a werewolf guy. And he's on this alien world, and it's just he's trying to help these refugees get to safety because the city is just falling apart. And it is just spun off into its own thing.
Did you ever read Seth Ring's Dreamer's Throne?
I did.
Because listening to you talk about this werewolf story and having read that, I was like, yo, like, does he he has to wait for a full moon to change, right? So then, like, you have to plan out. Like, what if you planned out, like, okay, next month, I need to do all these steps. So next month when I turn into a werewolf, I can shred shit. That would take a lot of ass planning to write that book. But that's literally the idea I have in my head right now.
Nice.
That's awesome, man.
And then the Embers of Winter, that is probably what's been blowing up your email. So I wanted to give myself a challenge.
Okay.
Because I want to be, I can kind of consider myself a horror writer, but at the same time, I don't feel like a horror writer. And this is one of those imposter syndrome kind of things. I mean, you've read Stardivers, you can see the elements of survival horror throughout it. But I've never really touched on actually doing a horror story and building that tension from the beginning to end. And Embers of Winter was me challenging myself for the 12 Days of Yule to write 2 chapters, publish 2 chapters a day for a total of 24 chapters and tell a full story.
That's awesome, man. So this book is going to be its own standalone as well, then?
Yeah, that one is going to be a Patreon exclusive. I think I'm probably going to put the paperback on Amazon.
Okay.
Just so I can use them to print it and get it out there.
Right. But no KDP then?
No KDP.
Okay. Well, there you go, you guys. Go support Steven over on Patreon and check out this exclusive. That's pretty dope, man. I love that.
Yeah, it was just like, and I feel like that's one of those things to better yourself as a writer. Sometimes you have to give yourself challenges, and just by writing this story alone, I feel like I've kind of worked out some of the I've come to realize some of the things about my own writing, as well as work out some issues and pacing and stuff that I've had before in the past.
Okay, so what would you say? Because now you've gotten, dude, like a shit ton of books under your belt, right? Do you see like certain stages where your growth has gotten better in writing? And can you kind of like, as you reflect back really quick, what were some of those different stepping stones for you in the writing skill sets?
I think the best thing I ever did was hire an editor.
Okay. Why would you say that? Like, why would you give that piece of advice for young people coming in wanting to be aspiring authors?
Because you are absolutely going to make mistakes. And you can read through your own work 1,000 times and you will not see those mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when we were doing Vampire Sorcerer, one of the things I did was I had was writing it in Word, and I had Word play it back to me, but with the spoken text option, just so I could sit there with my eyes closed and try and see it from the reader's point of view. And I think that trying to see the story from a reader's point of view was one of those like steps, one of those places of growth, one of those places where I grew as a writer.
Yeah. I've done that before, and I've told that to some people where I will do my best. Like if I have the mental energy to sit down and go back through the manuscript, read the entire manuscript out loud to myself by myself. And as you read it out loud to yourself, you're like, okay, here we go. And then on the third pass, have the AI read it to myself in a complete, like normally I'll choose, so I use Natural Reader. I want to say it is.
I use the Australian.
Yeah, Natural Readers. So, you know, I got one of the subscription packages, and the same thing, like I'll use UK or some other accent to read it to me to be like, yep, I need to fix these things. And that definitely catches a lot.
For me, I think actually changing the accent helped because I end up focusing on listening more because it's in a different accent than what I'm usually hearing.
Yep. 100%. I would definitely say that. So now one of the things that we've talked about it, and it's something that you and I discussed at Dragon Con, and we've kind of mentioned it ever since then. And one of the things that I really thought we should probably talk about tonight is this imposter syndrome that we have to fight. And you sent me, I will give you the full credit. You sent me this excerpt, so I'll read a part of it. For those, that don't know necessarily what imposter syndrome entails.
Really? I was absolutely going to make you take this tonight on stream.
You wanted me to what?
I was going to make you take this test.
It's an actual test?
The Clance IP scale. So, for each question, please circle the number that best indicates how true the statement is of you. It is best to give the first response that enters your mind rather than dwelling on each statement and thinking about it over and over.
Holy cow. Okay. So is it the first link there that I'm seeing?
Concordia, yeah.
There was 2 links here, so let's see. Oh, shit. Okay. Okay, so then we're going to score this, I guess? Okay. Oh, all right. Let's see here. So
that's right, guys. I'm putting TJ on the spot. I am the chaos.
Even though I was afraid that okay, so let's just, this was definitely throwing me for a loop here. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put this in the chat. So if you guys want to see what this is. Actually, you know what? Why don't we just share the screen? Let's do that. Let me see here. Let me get. Oh shit. Okay. We'll go over here. Share screen, entire screen. All right.
That's right. You weren't expecting
me. Question. Please
today.
Circle the number that best indicates how true the statement is of you. It is best to give the first response that enters your mind rather than dwelling on each statement and thinking about it over and over. Wow. Okay. Question number 1. I have often succeeded.
For those that don't know, imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern where individuals doubt their accomplishments and have a persistent fear of being exposed as a fake despite evidence of their accomplishments. It can happen to anybody at any level, no matter how much money they're making, no matter their fame, no matter how successful they may seem. I especially as an artist and writer, I know for a fact that I suffer from it. I thought that this would be a cool, kind of trippy way to just show the audience and kind of gauge where we're at.
Okay, so let's see. Question number 1. I've often succeeded on a test or task, even though I was afraid that I would not do well before I undertook the task. I would say number 4, often. Number 2, I can give the impression that I'm more competent than I really am. Ooh.
4. For me,
yeah, I'm thinking 4 as well. Okay. I avoid evaluations if possible and have a dread of others evaluating me. Yeah, that I would say is probably number 5.
I mean, that's such a tough one too, especially for us as we constantly put ourselves out there.
Yeah.
But there really is that sense of dread, of worry that, oh my God, am I going to release this and it's only going to get, only one person is going to read it, or it's going to get negative reviews. An important thing to remember though is that even that if one person reads it and enjoys it, like you have effectively affected their life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude. Well, here's the thing. Simple as this is like, my spelling is so bad. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, I have some of the worst spelling ever. Yes, I have 749,000 words or whatever written of experience, and yet my spelling is so bad. Peru, in book 1, I spelled wrong like multiple times. You actually caught it. Melee. I had Melee spelled wrong. My boss just the other day, I wrote the word Tillamook. It's a city in Oregon. It's a famous cheese. Like their cheese is nationwide. Tillamook cheese and beef jerky. I spelled it wrong. And he's looking at this list and he's like, well, I've never seen it spelled that way before. I was so embarrassed. So yes, I hate people seeing my writing because I know they're spelling errors.
And it can be something that's embarrassing, but you have to take that and just either, laugh it off or go back and improve yourself. And like with editing, with Melee, for example, as soon as you realized it, you changed it right there and then.
Yeah, there's times when like I'm sitting there and I'm writing, and it could be just simply I'm writing out something for like a post or something, and I will show it to Steven to make sure everything is spelled correctly because I have that same issue. Like I'm horrible at spelling.
Yep. I am right there with you. Okay. So question 4, when people praise me for something I've accomplished, I'm afraid I won't be able to live up to their expectations of me in the future. I would say maybe a 3 on this one. I'm torn. Like I want to say 3.5.
I'm an absolute 5 on that. I was up till 3 a.m. last night, like wondering, oh my God, I'm going on a podcast tomorrow. What am I going to say? What am I going to do? Oh my God, I'm panicking. What if TJ doesn't like me anymore after this? What if the people watching don't like me anymore after this?
Yeah.
And then I plan to give you this test. So of course,
I still like you. I just hate you for giving me this test. All right. But dude, I get that, man. That's where, as you know, from my live streams on the weekends, my routine is waking up at 3:30 in the morning to do my writing because I only have about 2 hours to do it. I still struggle with sleep at night because I have so much anxiety and stress from other things. So yeah, by the time Thursday and Friday come around, my writing is just complete shit. And I'm like, I don't care right now. He's just gonna kill more people. We're just killing everyone. So I get it, man. My nerves, my anxiety, like, yep. Okay. I sometimes think I obtained my present position or gained my present success because I happened to be in the right place at the right time or knew the right people.
Oh, that's definitely a 5. No doubt about that. That's a big part of my imposter syndrome. Like, I feel like a lot of times it's just a situation of, oh, I'm just here because I'm the available one. Like, especially at work. Mm-hmm. Like, I work with dogs all day. And like, this last year, I got 2 promotions within 2 months. And like, I don't know how I did that. Like, it's just, I feel like it's just because I was the right person at the right time, right then and there.
But, you know, one of the things is this morning when we were reflecting, back in January, Tori was employee of the month. Like, she was already being rewarded all the hard work that she had done at her job.
Yeah. I would say, like, we know obviously why you got those things because you are an awesome worker, you know. Mm-hmm. It's not just being at the right place, right time. It is because of who you are. So I understand completely why you got promoted, and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so where are we on? Number 6. I'm afraid people important to me may find out that I'm not as capable as I think I am. Fucking 5.
Yeah.
Number
7. My God, that's intimidating.
I tend to remember the incidents in which I have not done my best more than those times I have done my best.
I feel like that is so much more than just like imposter syndrome. And I was watching a video from Jordan Peterson talking a little bit about that, where he said a lot of the times in some of those situations, we were never able to have the closure that we wanted. And so our brain is continuing to bring those up because we haven't figured out a way to close that yet. So I was like, well, that makes sense. And yeah, there's definitely times, even earlier today, I had a flashback, and it's just like one of those things that just haunts me, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Number 8, I rarely do a project or task as well as I'd like to do it.
Now, as an author, yeah, like there's a bit of like perfectionism. You want, I want my writing, I want my stuff to come out perfect. One of the reasons I outline so much is because or have so many notebooks filled around the house is because some of those are alternate scenes. Some of those are different directions the story could go. There's always a state of, like, there's always a rhythm, a state of flow that I'm looking for as an author that I want my readers to be able to appreciate.
Yeah.
I think of it more as a state of flux. Everything is always constantly changing, where your brain is always going, okay, do I like this scene more or do I like this one? Okay, then which one will my readers like more? It's always constantly changing. So you could tell me, we could be sitting there talking about you writing out a chapter and one of these scenes, and I will remember this, and then I come back and I read something completely different.
Yeah.
Because you changed it. And like, it's a constant state of flux. Like, your brain is always coming up with new scenarios and new ideas that, like, sometimes it's hard to keep up with.
Like, I mean, let's take in Stardivers, Dungeons of Bane, the Skull-Faced Man. I mean, how ridiculous is that name?
You're doing this on purpose.
It's completely ridiculous. I mean, who the fuck makes a villain called the Skull-Faced Man?
Like,
But then he's so brutal, and that's just what he is. He's this dark, shadowy figure with a skull face.
yeah, and like when
He
you
doesn't have a name.
Yeah, and when you were like writing that, you were like, "Oh, this is just the insert. I don't have a name for him yet." And then it was just like, "But that's perfect though." And like you decided to stick with it. Like it was just one of those things that it just worked out beautifully.
Yeah, that's funny, dude. Okay. Sometimes I feel or believe that my success in my life or in my job has been the result of some kind of error.
I feel like it's just repeating questions now, but
Yeah, but that's what they want you to do because they want you to answer these questions like this,
true.
and they're rewording it so that you don't have to stop and think. They just want you just to read the sentence and come up with an answer on the spot.
Not thinking. I'm still gonna say 4.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say rarely on this one. I don't feel like it's been an error because I know I've put in a lot of work to get what I've achieved, but I don't feel like I deserve it per se. But I don't feel like it's an error. I don't know. That's an interesting one. Okay, you want to take number 10?
Number 10. It's hard for me to accept compliments or praise about my intelligence or accomplishments.
That's a 5. I am the biggest person of like always doing that. Like I always try, like my brain automatically goes to, oh, thank you for the compliment, but here's a negative thing about me.
Yeah. Nope. That totally makes sense.
We were even talking about my books before the stream, and every time you gave me a compliment, there was a voice in the back of my head. It was like, and yeah, I'm glad you like that, but I could have done this better. I should have maybe done it this way.
Yeah, that makes sense, dude. And it is hard too. Like when you have a lot of writing friends that we read each other's work, like to see what each other are writing, we often give ideas or recommendations. And I think it just hurts the fact sometimes where, like The Dying Breed, the first story, I'm just like, don't talk to me about that. I don't want to talk about that. But then you have someone else who's like, oh, I really love this. You could have done this. I could have done that. I should have done that.
Let's talk about Mala. She's so good. Or let's talk about Liam's journey. Like,
Liam's a little bitch.
Fuck no, dude. The kid is amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
And that brings us to number 11. At times, I feel my success has been due to some kind of luck.
Oof.
Yes,
I don't know about that.
I'm gonna say
that's
3.
That's a 3 for me because I know that I put a lot of time and effort into everything that I do. And yes, there are times when it feels like, oh, I'm just lucky. But like majority of the time, it's I've worked really hard to get where I am.
Yeah. I would put that for me, it's going to be a 2 because I feel like I wish I had more luck stat, right? Like if luck was a real stat in life, bruh, let's be putting that number up higher. So
dude, that's what we're doing right now. We are working on leveling up.
Yep. All right, number 12. I'm disappointed at times in my present accomplishments and think I should have accomplished much more. That is a number 5 for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm of the mindset of it. This is my motto, and I know it's so corny, but live, laugh, learn, love. I literally have it tattooed to my skin. You are constantly in a flux of learning. You make mistakes and you push past them and you learn from those mistakes and you don't repeat those mistakes. So it's one of those that you're like, okay, I don't necessarily see that in myself, but there are times when I see that come through for Steven, and like those are the moments where I'm like, okay, let's work through this together. We've got this. You're great at what you do. And I constantly am giving him that reassurance that he needs, because there are times when it's too much. Like,
and I think as we're talking about imposter syndrome, one of the things that to help with imposter syndrome is that you absolutely need to find people either in your community, friends, girlfriend, wives, partners that just will stand by you and help you through those moments of doubt.
Yeah. 100%, man. A support system, whatever it is, whether it's your parents, your best friend, your dog, like, dude, that's clutch, man. It's clutch.
Yeah, dude, I can't tell you how many times I've been feeling down and my dog has been there.
Yep. Yeah, I was thinking about Hercules actually earlier today, so I get that for sure. Okay, number 13. Sometimes I'm afraid others will discover how much knowledge or ability I really lack. That's a 5 for me. And I even had this earlier today when I went on Reddit to the Lit RPG to ask the question about murder hobo. And I was like, hey, like, where did this really come from? What, is it a trope or what is it? Like, I know Dakota wrote a book called Murder Hobo or whatever, but like, and there was one or two comments where as I read them, it was like, well, yeah, it's this. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm ignorant. That's why I'm asking, like, don't beat me up. And so,
I mean, that's one of the problems with, I think with social media.
Yeah.
Is you can ask something and just legitimately like be curious. What is a murder hobo? And people will just be mean.
Yep. And that's where even coming into like, I did not read a lot of fantasy growing up per se, or recently. I only read The Land for Lit RPG before I really dove into the genre. So there's a lot of certain elements of it that I don't know and I'm just ignorant of. And I feel bad to ask within some groups because it's like, well, then are you even really an author? Are you really doing this? I'm like, I didn't even know what tropes were. And I had already finished book 1 of The Dying Breed.
I honestly didn't know what tropes were until like just a few years ago.
Yeah.
I was writing with Alex and he was like, dude, I really like this trope. We should somehow include it in this book. And I was like, a troop? A troop? What troop do you want to include in the book? Bark Squad? Like I was highly confused. And luckily, he was able to explain it to me.
Yeah.
And that was after I had already written like 2 or 3 books.
Yep. That's what's funny too, is like I went and I Googled, like once I realized what they were, I went and Googled like top tropes within fantasy genre. And I'm reading the descriptions like, oh, sweet. Okay. Yeah. I got that. I got that. I got that. Like, okay, I got some tropes in there. And I didn't even realize that that's what I was doing. But yeah.
I think I think tropes come naturally. I think they are just part of the human experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at tropes like this.
I mean, we're a fucking trope.
We technically are, yes.
We're a fucking trope.
It's the classic hero story. You know, that is the one that everybody knows. Like, that is the one that everybody goes to for when they're like just spitballing ideas. Like, they have to have a conflict. They have to have a solution. They have to have a point where they fall and get back up and prove that never giving up is the right way to go. You know, that kind of trope. Like, it is so ingrained in tropes are so ingrained into society, human society, and storytelling. It's lessons, but also a way to entertain at the same time. And like, I have heard people go, "Oh, I hate tropes so much," and I'm like, why? They're the building blocks of humanity. Like,
Yeah.
you can't tell a story without at least one trope in there.
Well, it's that, like, even if you think that you're not writing a trope, it
You're
connects
probably
back
writing
to a trope, because it's like, that's how we all learned storytelling, was being told stories in our childhood. And so eventually you're tying something back to something that's already been labeled a trope. You can't get away from them at this point.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. Okay. Take number 14 for us.
I'm often afraid that I may fail at a new assignment or undertaking, even though I generally do well at what I attempt.
That's a 5. That's a big old 5 for me.
Yeah, that is either a 4 or 5 for me.
I would definitely say a 4 for me.
I love taking on new things. I mean, I was just telling you, like, I challenged myself to write a 24 chapter novella over the course of Yule. And I actually was writing the final chapter tonight before getting on here, while we were just hanging out.
Hell yeah. That's awesome, dude.
I mean, one of the biggest reasons that I actually wrote the story that I did for the Rise and Rescue series that we did was because I needed that challenge. I needed that you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
To prove to myself that I could do it.
And that itself, Rise and Rescue, was a huge undertaking. So what that was is, back in 2020, before the pandemic became a big, huge thing, Australia was on fire.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And like, not just like a little fire, like it was devastating. And I got with a couple of lit RPG authors, and one of the authors that's from Australia that was actually dealing with it, and he wrote a foreword for Rise and Rescue, and we put out this anthology to specifically raise funds for wires who are helping, like, little koala bears and all the different animals. And we raised over $700.
Dude, that's awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah, and like, I think that was one of those moments of like, that was the moment where I was like, okay, I can write 10,000 words in a span of 2 months. I can do this. And even though I'm really slow at writing and have not published anything yet, I know that I can do it. And it goes back to having Steven as my partner, like
having that support system.
Yeah, like that is the biggest thing. And like, I struggle with that the most because I constantly fear of failing. Constant is a thing for me. So that's definitely a 5.
Okay. When I've succeeded at something and received recognition for my accomplishments, I have doubts that I can keep repeating the success.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would say sometimes.
That's a 5.
I would say sometimes. All right. 16. If I receive a great deal of praise and recognition for something I've accomplished, I tend to discount the importance of what I've done. That's very much, yep.
Yeah.
A 4, 5.
I'm going to say often.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 4 on that because, like, that is something I do.
17. I often compare my ability to those around me and think they may be more intelligent than I am.
That's a 4.
For me, that's a 4, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say that's a 3. I've worked around a lot of morons.
Well, yeah. It's like a 3-4 for me because, like, the people I work with now, amazing, wonderful people, super great at what they do, but in the past, lots of morons.
To be
Okay.
fair, I used to be a forklift driver, and I was a forklift driver for 6 or 7 years, and I had to train people to be forklift drivers, and it was awful.
That's funny. I get it, man. I get it. I often worry about not succeeding with a project or examination, even though others around me have considerable confidence that I will do well. Yeah. I used to really be bad at that, but I would say maybe 3 now.
Yeah, I'm more of a 3 now.
Yeah, I'd say
But
3 as well.
when I first met Steven, like, that was a 5. That was a total 5.
I think that is one of the reasons that having community, especially here on Legion and just the Lit RPG community in general, is so important so that we can build each other up.
Yeah. Like, if you're ever feeling like that imposter syndrome creeping in and you're not in the right headspace, please reach out to any of us. We are more than willing to just listen. If you just need to vent about stuff, we're more than willing to listen and be there for you.
Yeah, and there are so many people in the community that are like that.
Yep. 100%, man. All right. Number 19, if I'm going to receive a promotion or gain recognition of some kind, I hesitate to tell others until it is an accomplished fact. Oh, I would say 4 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was like, I've seen it a lot in the military where you get told a lot of stuff like, oh yeah, we're going to hook you up with this. And then it never comes. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to fucking tell anyone because, until it happens, it ain't for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 20, I feel bad and discouraged if I'm not the best or at least very special in situations that involve achievement.
See, that's a tough one for me because I feel like I'm like a 1 at that. But I know there have been times where I have just completely like been so angry because I was not recognized for the achievement that I did.
I know for me, it's when I got to my first duty station in Montana, we did nuclear security. And they came in and gave us test after test every 4 months. We were tested on weapons, job knowledge, nuclear security measures. If you did not get 100 on each of those tests every time, you were considered a piece of shit and you were treated as shit. And then whenever they would even like give us the answers to the tests like a week or 2 before to be like, you better memorize this. And so even if you showed up and you did not get 100%, you were treated like shit. And so it was one of those things. I'm like, you guys aren't teaching us proficiency. You're just teaching us how to take a test and what to look for. You're not teaching me like what exactly this means, what this is supposed to represent, all this stuff. So that was really frustrating for a long time. And now going into any test, I like just stress over studying. So,
yep.
What a way to end the new year now, right?
Well, that's we can finish this on a positive note, though. So hold on. Okay, so the imposter test was developed to help individuals determine whether or not they have IP characteristics, and if so, to what extent they are suffering. After taking the imposter test, add together the numbers of the responses to each statement. If the total score is 40 or less, the respondent has few imposter characteristics. If the score is between 41 and 60, the respondent has moderate IP experiences. A score between 61 and 80 means the respondent frequently has imposter feelings, and a score higher than 80 means the respondent often has intense IP experiences. The higher the score, the more frequently and seriously the imposter phenomenon interferes in a person's life. Okay.
There.
Well, let's see.
What do you think we are, lit RPG writers?
Okay.
Math.
So I got that. Let me double check now. All right. I got a 78.
I got an 82.
That was about an 81.
Yeah.
Dang.
Mm-hmm.
So you are right on that cusp.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But I mean, so yeah, so frequently has those feelings. While you might be a mimic, none of you are imposters. Well, so some of the other stuff that whoopsies, that's the wrong button. Uh-oh.
That's right.
Oh, here we go.
You weren't expecting this to get so real.
So one of the things that Steven sent me that is a great now way to go into this is some of the indicators that can come with imposter syndrome are perfectionism, overworking, which also leads to burnout, attributing success to luck, and downplaying achievements. Different backgrounds, such as industries and levels of success, experience imposter syndrome. It's not limited to anyone, and even accomplished individuals can experience it. So when I was in Vegas, I got to talk to someone who is basically a New York Times bestselling author. And they were even telling me how they struggle with imposter syndrome. And it's like, dude, you're like one of the most accomplished people in this whole fucking convention. And here you are telling me like, hey, eventually the balloon's going to pop. Eventually, like, you know, the pillar underneath me is going to give way and the reality is going to set in and everyone's going to realize, wow, this person really doesn't know what they're doing. And I was like, holy shit, man. Like, if you're dealing with that, like, we're not alone in this fight.
Nope.
Exactly.
Nobody is alone.
And that was actually the point I wanted to drive home, is that no matter what level you are, we are all in the same fight. Yeah. We are all on our own journey, here to carve our own mark.
100%, man. So some of the other stuff that Stephen found for us, strategies for managing and overcoming imposter feelings, such as seeking mentorship, writing groups, reframing negative thoughts, and celebrating achievements. Constructive feedback is not criticism. Imagine manifesting your goals, your sigils, creating branding to focus towards, because it can be anything from a demon face logo to a book title or a series name.
100%.
All right, so so we admit that, hey, we deal with these things. This is something that we struggle with. So how do we combat that? And you had some great stuff here where you celebrate even the small successes, you cultivate resilience, and you embrace challenges as opportunities for growth rather than success or validation. You are continuously learning.
Yeah.
100%.
So what does that look like in real terms for you? Because you are far more accomplished than me in the amount of books that you've been able to write, how long you've been doing this. So how are you continuing to look for celebrating those small successes, and how do you build that resiliency and embrace those challenges?
For me, I reward myself when if I meet my 10,000 words a week goal, like I reward myself with a steak dinner. I try to, we both try to celebrate those little victories that come in between, because writing a book is such a massive thing, and it doesn't always seem like such a massive thing because there's so much out there. There's so many books released today. There's so many authors. Nearly everybody I know is an author. Half the people I know have more books written than me. I feel like such a small fish, but at the end of the day, we're all on the same level. And for me, celebrating their victories as much as mine is something that is deeply important.
Yep.
Yeah. Keeping that mindset for me that my victories are no less valued than anybody else's really helps me to keep moving forward. So celebrating little things, like he finished a book cover. I go out and I buy stuff for a fancy dinner and make it for him so that he feels that achievement, that accomplishment.
Yeah. For me, supporting the community is a hugely important thing. And I didn't even realize until today, this year, I had done 54 book covers. Like not always necessarily the entire cover. Some of those were like just layout, some were typography, but 54 different projects.
That's dude, that's what I love about you guys, and especially like the kaiju community, where it's like we have multiple different groups or pages that we all kind of like do for our branding or whatever. But I've loved the Club Kaiju community to where it's like a whole bunch of goofballs, I feel like. We're just like super nerds. Like we literally posted a photo of ducks in combat gear, and we were like, hell yeah, this is fucking dope. And like we call ourselves the Duck Squad for no reason, but the fact that somehow eventually on, I think it was one of Richie's streams, somehow we got going on ducks, and now like that's our thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But to say that is like you've been so supportive of so many other authors that you're constantly promoting their work within your group.
Yeah, like that's something that we strive for, because we ourselves know that feeling of just,
we know how hard it is.
Yeah. And like we want to be that support system constantly for anybody who comes to the group. no matter what the issue, no matter if you're just venting, like we want to give you that ability just to release the stress and move forward. And we want to celebrate your victories and be the shoulder to cry on when
that
you
was
go.
a huge reason that went from just my readers group to me opening it up so that other authors could promote and other authors could share. And now it's like, I think this month alone, it had like 4,000 views.
Yeah.
Like that's the amount of growth in the lit RPG community as a whole is just amazing.
Yeah, dude, it's been super fun, and I'm super grateful to get to be a part of your group, because that was one of the things, like when we connected online and you're like, hey, I'm adding you to my group. I'm like, okay. And then you're like, hey, you can post anything you want whenever you want. I was like, holy shit. Okay. Like, this dude's pretty cool. Thanks, man. And yeah, dude, it's been like, that was kind of one of the reasons why I started doing these author chats, because I reached out to 1 or 2 podcasts and I only had like book 1 out. And I was like, hey, you know, could I come on your show? And they're like, oh no, sorry. And I just get like, I got like 8 or 10 rejections, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? Fine. I already know like 4 authors. Let's just freaking do our own thing. And so that was where I always wanted the opportunity to talk about my book and to talk about the fact of like, if I can do it, you can do it. And so that's where my biggest thing is trying to read other people's books before they come on, to be like, yes, I read your book and I want you to talk about it now. So, yeah, that's awesome, man. And as Paul said, there's always room for perspective.
Yeah.
So, oh man, dude, this was good. I like this.
So going into the new year, I am not one to make resolutions and stuff like that, because I think that just
putting that pressure on yourself.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to put that pressure on yourself, but I do like making goals. I do like the idea of manifesting stuff for the future and having things to work towards. And one of my goals next year is to start a serial story on Royal Road called Dungeon Valkyrie. And it's basically a post-apocalyptic Norse cultivation series that I've honestly been working on since like 2020.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Well, yeah, man. And, you know, you and I, we're writing almost the same amount weekly. So, yeah, it's about, 4 books roughly a year, 5 books a year. So, yeah, that's awesome, man. That's a great thing to look forward to for 2024.
My goal is to finish my books with you.
Total Protectors.
Yes. And get my own personal first book out. I think that's a good goal for me.
Heck yeah. I think, that's where I tell people, I had one person reach out to me. Oh, actually, in the last year, I've had about 4 people reach out and either wanted me to like write their book for them or like something involving the writing stuff. And I'm, you probably have done it too, where you field a lot of questions from people who are like, how do I get started? And you have that conversation. And out of the 3 people that I've talked to recently, almost every single one has written back within like 2 weeks and like, holy shit, this is so much work. I was like,
First thing you got to do. Okay. Sit down, breathe.
Yes.
Breathe. Okay. You're breathing. Okay. Now, what is a story that you want to hear? What is the kind of thing that you would pick up and read that would just make you feel?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting too is I've had 2 guys reach out who are writing finance books. And I was like, whoa, Okay, well, now you've got to talk about different genre specifics, and you've got to help give them mentorship on like, here's where I would go to look at this. Like my one guy, he's a self-made millionaire, and I'm so proud of him. Like I love Daniel to death. He's one of my favorite people on this planet, and he and I are going to do an interview when he's done. But he's been working on this finance book for over a year now. And he's just like, dude, this is so much work. And he was like, I've been working for 12 hours devotedly trying to figure out how to format my book for Amazon. I was like, bro, just here's Vanessa. Email her. She'll do it in like a day. It's not a problem. Just pay her to do it. I'm telling you, save yourself the time.
That is another thing that sometimes you absolutely have to reach out and just let the people that know what they're doing do their magic.
Yeah. Like I honestly know when it comes to actually publishing it and getting it out there, like that's all him. That's gonna be the cover, the typography, all that will be him.
Even like formatting, like Vampire Sorcerer is my harem series that I did with Alex Etzios. For the paperbacks, we wanted full page images, and I like from top to bottom, no squares, no white space above, and we had to hire help to do that.
Yep. Yeah, I was right there with you at the Dying Breed, as you saw with those character arcs. Like that's what I wanted, man. And then I was just like, okay, I have to settle. I'm not at the point where I can really go all the way, because like eventually, like I want to do like more custom things, but it's like, you know what? Let's just get to the point of getting the story out there.
Yeah.
So, all right. So 2024, you're going to be doing this web serial and post on Royal Road. So that's awesome. I'm excited.
2024, we've got Dungeon Valkyrie, we've got Seer, we've got more Stardivers. Jeffrey and I are going to have more Station Company Core, narrated by Jessica 3, coming out through Podium.
Nice.
It's going to be a killer year.
That's awesome. So, I'm guessing all of your stuff is going to be available on your Patreon first.
All going to be available on Patreon first. I'm planning to go the Patreon, Royal Road, and then maybe if it's exclusive to Royal Road or Patreon, then Amazon.
Okay. Well, everyone, go support this dude. His Patreon link is below. You can support him with as little as $3 a month. You can support him all the way up to $60 a month. But these two people are amazing, if you guys haven't figured out from this interview. And again, the amount of support that they give to other authors is just over the top. So go support this guy on Patreon. Go pick up his books. Stardivers was amazing, but Steven has got so many books out there to dive into. So y'all need to go check them out.
Stardivers is out there. The first book, A Temple of the Storm, is actually free. I'm part of an anthology called Get Good. It's got a bunch of authors in it. It's free. Vampire Sorcerer is Audible only. Sorry about that. First book is actually, you can read it on Scribble Hub for free.
I love how I'm like, yo, go support this guy. And like your first 3 projects you talk about, it's like, here's all the free stuff. Like, no, we're trying to get you more money, Steven. We're trying to get you more support.
Just read and enjoy the work.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so I think that's about all that we're going to cover for tonight. And Steven and Greg, you guys always have an open invite to come back whenever you want and talk more book stuff. So
let's do one more test so I can put you through.
oh man, I don't know about that. You are all amazing, and I hope that you have a happy and productive 2024. Thank you, Paul. We really appreciate that. So
thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's a great way to really close out is 2023, thanks to our fans. You guys are the reason why we're here. You guys are the reason why we're going into 2024 motivated and excited, and we hope to bring you guys some awesome stories.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, hey, y'all have a great New Year's, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, I don't believe in destiny. I just do what's best for me. Don't listen to my enemies, they're just full of jealousy. Yeah, this legacy, you gon' see what's left of me. You gon' see success in me. You ain't seen the rest of me. I just wanna be the best at what I know, better than the rest, just watch me grow. Put me to the test and watch me go. This is my quest, I'ma make it known. They call me obsessive, oh I know. Call me selective with my notes. Call me aggressive with my flow. Call me offensive even though Joe, I ain't gonna lie, life's tough. Try to get by, life's rough. Try to do it right, it's not enough. Even though you try, you still mess up. But I'm still gonna fight for what I love. Still gonna die for what I love. Still gonna try, I won't give up. Still gonna fight until I've won. They say I'm way too obsessed and I've got nothing left, and I'm not quite there yet, but those words they'll regret, cause I've got something left and I'm not giving in. I will not let them win. I won't stop till the end, no. Some injuries, mentally and physically. Studied them religiously so I don't repeat history. And people won't admit to me they don't want a victory bad enough to get a C. They'd rather just go leave it be. And this journey I've been on since 13, working hard and learning, never stopping searching. Yeah, it's burning, all this passion hurts me. I took action working, writing down these words. No, I'm not okay, I just wanna be something. I don't wanna be nothing, living all alone. No, I'm not alright, I'm just barely getting by. But I'll tell you I'm just